Hey, wonderful superhumanizer friends. This is Dr. Hani Chabo. Before we dive into this awesome episode, I wanted to take a moment and be real with you. So much work goes into bringing you these conversations. The research, the preparation, the production. It's a labor of love and it's a lot of real work. If you found value in these stories, we'd love your support. Join our Patreon for as little as $10 a month. You'll get early access to episodes, extended interviews, and even direct access to Katie and I. Or you can send a one-time or recurring donation through our PayPal link. Both links are in the show notes below. You're helping us build a team to produce more content and inspire more humanity. Thank you. Now, let's get into it. Welcome to Superhumanizer Podcast, where we promote empathy and understanding in polarizing viewpoints through stories told by people living them.
Hi, y'all. Welcome back to Superhumanizer, where we dive deep into the stories of people who are working to make our world more just, more connected, and more human. I'm Katie Bogan.
And I'm Dr. Hani Chabo. Today we're talking with someone whose family story shows us how the American dream can become a platform for justice. Hamza Ali is the president of MPI Media Group, one of the largest independent distributors of film in America and the largest Arab-owned distribution company in North America. His father and uncle started it in 1976 after coming back from Palestine during the 1967 war. But Hamza isn't just running the family business, he's changing it completely.
In April of 2024, Hamza and his brother Badias started Watermelon Pictures. In just over a year, they've broken box office records with their documentary, The Encampments, launched their own streaming service called Watermelon Plus, and started a podcast called The Seeds with creative director Alana Hadid. They're not just showing Palestinian films, they're building an entire media world for voices that have been pushed aside.
What makes Hamza's story so powerful is how he's taken his family's success and used it to tell Palestinian stories at a time when that takes real courage. His company's motto says it all. From the river to the screen, Palestine will be seen. And for the first time on our pod today will be an experience of both audio and visual delight. Hamza, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be with you.
Habibi, we're honored too. So before we dive into your incredible work, all the amazing things you're doing at Watermelon Pics and beyond, we love to start every episode with a game called What Brings You Joy. Would you play it with us?
Yes, of course.
Hamza Habibi, what brings you joy?
I have to first say my family, of course. I have my beloved wife and 4 children, and they've kind of bore the brunt of the sacrifice, I think, because I've been a little bit more disconnected, but I love spending time with them. Nothing makes me happier, and I'm very indebted to them.
Beautiful. How old are your kids?
They are 2 to 9, so small.
Wow. Habibis.
Busy.
That's
Yes.
oh my God, thinking about a full house like that makes me so happy though.
Yeah, until you come over and then...
The joy of parenting, for sure.
Sorry. Katie, what brings you joy?
Something that's definitely bringing me joy today is community building, particularly with creatives and people who understand the change-making power of storytelling. Like this is something we talk about over and over on the pod, and just having you here to share your wisdom and how stories can really change folks' hearts and minds. I'm really excited about. So that is bringing me joy today. Henny, my love, what is bringing you joy?
I will echo that as well. What brings me joy today is being here with both of you, always being with people in community, especially you, Hamza. I know it took a while for us to get to this interview, but your kindness and your grace and the many times we had to reschedule and just your investment in making sure that this happened with us, your kindness brings me a lot of joy. And you're doing so many amazing things, but at your core, you're just such a beautiful, sweet human being, which brings me a lot of joy because we need more of that in the world.
Thank you, Henny. Thank you. That's very nice of you. You've been such a supporter of us, and I just am so grateful for all of that. I remember with the Life is Beautiful and everything, you really went above and beyond. I think you even bought ads for us. I was like, you don't have to. But it's truly, we appreciate you so much. So thank you.
Habibi, it was truly an honor and pleasure. I couldn't even believe I was asked, so thank you. And I know like you gave us that Heke parallel joy, but I still want another one from you. So what brings you joy?
I would say a film that wasn't meant to be seen, but ends up thriving. I think there's a few of those that we've had in our first year. To some extent, I think we did help amplify Israelism, even though it was already previously available. But with From Ground Zero and Encampments, I think those are two films that may not have seen the light of day, and it brings me joy that we were able to help get those stories out there.
Amazing.
Katie, what brings you joy?
Something that's for sure bringing me joy today is I went out for Pride last night and I got to reconnect with folks from college and be in queer community and just to move through these social geographies and social spaces where I go from like celebrating queer longevity and these connections I've had with people and then diving the next morning into this like cross-cultural connection and talking about storytelling. It really is demonstrating the breadth of all of our lives in a way that is profound and lovingly held for me today. So that's bringing me a lot of joy. Honey baby, what's bringing you joy?
It's amazing how we can go into all these spaces and find people that echo what we're trying to do in this mission of freeing Palestine and seeing a better world, a more peaceful world. The other day, I was at my pharmacy. I moved recently, so I was at the pharmacy picking up my medication for the first time. And this medication, last time I filled it, when I got home, I saw on the bottle it said made in Israel. And I was like, darn it. If I had known that when I picked it up, I would have not bought it, right? And then I told myself the next time I pick up this medication, I'm going to make sure it's not made in Israel before I buy it. And so I get to this pharmacy. It's a big name, not going to say just to protect the person. But the tech that was giving me my medicine, as soon as she gave it to me, I opened the box and I'm like looking. She can tell I'm looking at every corner. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Last time I bought this medicine, it was made in Israel and I don't want to buy it anymore." And she's like, "Oh my God, of course, I totally support you." And she went into the website of the medicine and she looked at the company behind the medicine because it just said distributed by, it didn't say made in. And then it was just like 2 minutes of us having solidarity there at the pharmacy. It was just really beautiful and that brought me a lot of joy. Hamza, last one. What brings you joy?
I'm going to say makluba. It's my favorite dish. It's a Palestinian dish, and me and my friends joke that the only meal better than makluba is the second day makluba,
Oh my
because
God.
it just marinates that extra 24 hours, and I would say makluba, and bonus if it's cooked by a grandmother.
Yes, love that.
Katie, can I ask you what brings you joy?
Absolutely. So my last joy is a little fraught. I moved back in with my dad for the month before I go to Paris. So I'm moving to Paris for the summer. And it has been so joyful to be home with my dad, who is a fantastic cook, but also to help him care for his wife, who has early onset Alzheimer's. So he's not looking after her by himself. And so there's a lot of family joy in being able to assist with that. But it's also such a critical reminder of the under resourcing of folks in Palestine who are helping elderly family members or folks with cognitive decline or folks who have something like dementia or early onset Alzheimer's. And I keep thinking about how challenging this has been for me and my dad, even with all of the resources that we have, and how much harder it must be for these other families. So I'm holding a lot of joy for being home with my parents and a lot of empathy and grief for people who are not as well resourced. It's a fraught joy. Honey baby, what's bringing you joy?
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Katie, dear. We know 2 days ago that a wonderful human being named Mahmoud Khalil was released finally. And that brought me a lot of joy, especially to know that the law still exists in this country and that this man is going to come out stronger and louder and is going to catalyze an even bigger movement for us. And yeah, it's just like the timeliness also of this interview and Hamza, your work and the encampments. We're going to talk about that, but all of that is bringing me joy, and especially seeing him see his son for the first time. That brought me a lot of joy.
Yeah, stunning,
Yeah.
stunning moment. So, Hamza, your family stories like something from a movie itself. Your father Malik and Uncle Walid were born in America, but as kids in 1960, they went back to Palestine to reconnect with their roots. And then came 1967, the Naksa, the Six-Day War, and they had to come back to the United States. And 9 years later, in 1976, they started MPI Media Group with almost nothing. And now here you are, decades later, using that same company to tell Palestinian stories. Take us back to when you were growing up What was it like being in this family that had lost so much but was building something so powerful in America?
To be honest, I didn't know my father as a film distribution executive or owner. My dad, he was the guy that played sports with me. He spent a lot of time with us. He always and still does put us first. He prioritizes us. I never really considered him as a film executive. My uncle passed, Allah yarhamu, but he was very much the fun uncle, and he was a much more of like a cinephile. He loved film. And my dad was working his way up in different arenas in America, trying to make it and just really make ends meet. And he was doing a good job because he's a hard worker and he's a smart businessman. And my uncle convinced him to go into this avenue. And, initially, of course, it wasn't easy. And my dad's like, "What did you do to me? I was doing fine." But no, my uncle, he used to put us in the back seat, and he loved James Bond, and he was obsessed with James Bond, and he wanted to be James Bond. He would put on the James Bond theme song and blast it, and then go way too fast with kids in the car. And he would pretend his eyes are closed. Of course they weren't. But like we would just be screaming and whatnot. So film, he always loved film, and he was a creative. One time, I think we were 7 or 8, he took me and my cousin I think it was my birthday or her birthday. He took us to Target to buy a present and came home with TVs. Like, we were like 8 years old. My dad's like, "What are you?" Like, my dad's much more frugal businessman. You get one toy, small toy. But anywho, always between the two of them, they complemented each other so well. And by the time I was of age, they were already having success in the industry. I just want to say one more thing, that they always wanted to go this direction and really push towards this arena of humanizing our people and supporting our people. And we all, including myself, I've already been here for, I don't know when I started, over 15 years, 20 years. We've all guilty of keeping our heads down and going through the motions. And of course, October 7th and the aftermath, it woke us up. And so it's past due. But anyway, that's the story.
That's such an incredible story. And I love hearing too about your father and your uncle's personalities. The whole point of this podcast is humanizing people. And so knowing beyond what they did, who they were, is a really important piece of this family history. And there is this inevitable connection between the loss of home, and no matter how many decades it takes to find the mission was finding you the entire time. Like, this thread was pulling you, whether your family knew it or not. And fighting back through these stories is so powerful. And your family over time has turned your pain and the struggle that you've gone through into a way to help others tell their stories. And now you're doing something similar in a completely different time. Watching the trailer reel for Watermelon Pictures it's remarkable. It's inspirational. It's just a stunning combination of stories. And I thought we could all watch it together today. For our listeners, you can see the video version of our podcast on our website, Spotify, and YouTube from the links in the episode description. We're going to show that clip now.
When my grandparents moved to America, they weren't just seeking a better life. They were fleeing occupation. When my father was a boy, his parents sent him back to his ancestral homeland. They wanted him to have roots in the country they came from, Palestine or Palestine. He didn't realize how literally my grandparents meant it. Our family are farmers and come from a humble village outside Ramallah called Batunia. There, my father spent years without running water or electricity, harvesting olives and pressing them each fall. A far cry from his childhood in Chicago. I can recall the endless stories about his time there. Beautiful, transformative years that shaped him. Eventually, he and my uncle decided to return to America to sow the seeds of their success. They started out of their parents' basement, renting out film reels to customers, and slowly grew that scrappy venture into a successful distribution business. Growing up, my brother and I were immersed in the world of movies, witnessing the evolution from VHS tapes to DVDs to a digital world. Our summers were spent organizing film reels, rewinding preview tapes, and QCing DVDs, before moving on to more significant responsibilities. We inherited the values of family, community, and responsibility that Palestine instilled in us. But we've also inherited a very different world. What we're seeing in Palestine today breaks our hearts and tells us that we haven't done enough. While our families worked hard to gain a foothold in this country, we now have the privilege, the duty, to do our part. Now, it's our hope to carry on the legacy of the brothers who came before us. We want Palestinian filmmakers from all over the world to tell our stories and challenge the narratives that have led to our dehumanization. So we started Watermelon Pictures. Our mission is for Palestine to be seen from the river to the screen.
Amazing. Wow. What a work of art. I really love every single reel, every single creative thing that Watermelon Pictures does. It's always just inspirational and so well done. Such creativity. You've said that Watermelon Pictures was born after October 7th and what happened in Gaza. You and your brother Badia realized, as you put it, that we need to do something. But you weren't new to this business. You've been running MPI for years. What was different about this moment for you that birthed Watermelon Pictures, and what made you feel like the normal way of distributing films wasn't enough anymore?
A really short answer to this is Watermelon isn't driven by financial success. And alhamdulillah, my brother and I and my family were blessed, and our core business has always done pretty well. And so we always, like my father, like my mother, my whole family, we always prioritize family. But with Watermelon, we realized there's a much more important mission, and it's humanizing our people. It's liberation, really, that's driving us. And it was the dehumanization that occurred that kind of also helped drive me. Is, you watch the mainstream media, not only are we having to watch the genocide unfold, but then we watch the mainstream media basically debate on whether or not it's justified.
Yeah.
And for me, it was looking at my kids having to live here, laying the groundwork for them to live in a place where they're not dehumanized, where they're respected. So I think that's the key difference, is that's what's driving us, is the mission and not any kind of business or financial success.
Wow. In your mission, this is really just being done as purpose work. It's not even really bringing any kind of financial benefit back to you, but it's really about reclaiming this narrative, especially the narrative that was twisted about us and as Arabs, and the word terrorist being thrown left and right. Hollywood talking about James Bond movies, they're often like, the villains are often in our part of the world or somehow associated to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Watermelon Pics' trailer actually really talks about the narrative, and it shows all that imagery that was used in Hollywood to propagate the narrative around us.
Yep.
And you're really helping us reclaim that narrative.
For far too long, we've been misrepresented, villainized, shut out. This is how Hollywood portrayed us? The stories they've told about us fueled our alienation and our oppression. But that's not who we are. We are our culture, our history, our resilience, our communities. We are our stories that tap into centuries of storytelling tradition and deserve to be seen by the world. That is why we are launching a Palestinian-owned film label rooted in creative resistance, where we control our own narrative and share who we are with the world, with the promise that from the river to the screen, Palestine will be seen.
بعد 50 سنة بتتأمل إنك ترجع على فلسطين؟
لو عشت 100 سنة بدل متأمل.
thank you so much for that selfless work you're doing that's born out of your mission. And the watermelon logo in Watermelon Pics has so much symbolism behind it. Can you tell us more about that?
The logo itself, we have our Watermelon Pictures logo, which is in the shape of a watermelon wedge. And then we have our seed mark, which is, if you see our animated logo, it's like seeds populating, but it's basically almost like an auditorium or theater type seating where people are coming in. And essentially, we're saying that the stories are seeds, but also the people that are coming to watch the films are seeds. And then they leave the cinema and they spread the seeds. And it's also people coming from diaspora together. And so there is a lot of symbolism to that. And essentially, we were thinking a lot about what is our name? What is our logo? And I remember me and my brother just texting back and forth. Initially, we were going to do everything out of our core label. And as we started to go further down the road, we said, no, I think there's a label here. And so we went through every type of Palestinian or olives and Pali films. And we ended up deciding, and actually watermelon was the first thing that came to mind. And then we did 200 others and came back to watermelon. And we get this question a lot of why did we go with the watermelon? We get it from people that don't know what the watermelon is, which is truly the vast majority of people. They like, I know for us, it clicks. Even like my employees are like, what's the watermelon? And we have to explain. And it's the creative resistance, it's the banning of the flag, it's the social media virality. So all of that. But we also get the question from Arabs in the industry. And one question we get very much is, why weren't we more covert? Why weren't we more strategic? And the answer is, we wanted to plant our flag. And we believe in authenticity. And we're very happy that we did that, because it really, the allies that are out there, and there are many, they basically came to us and they appreciate what we stand for. And so it definitely sent a signal. At the same time, the watermelon itself is a fruit, and it's friendly and it's shareable and it's juicy and it's sweet. It's very disarming. So it shouldn't be offensive. And if there are people out there that may be offended by the watermelon, those aren't necessarily people that we need to work with. And we don't need everybody to support us. But the people that are out there that do support us, they're making themselves known to us. And the conversations that we're having in the industry from places you would never expect, people coming to us from major studios saying, hey, we're with you, how can we help? And that's because we're watermelon. And also authenticity in our community really appreciate. It wouldn't have resonated to go with some kind of covert name. We planted our flag and we said we're Watermelon Pictures. And you know, I also like to say it worked for Apple. So, you know,
yes. Well said.
That's the backstory of the label. And we had a great marketing agency on that helped us envision what it would look like and whatnot. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, creative resistance in using something that is maybe benign or maybe has an association to something communal, something fun. But right behind it, there's this profound mission, the same mission that's driving us all. And to like paint the story a little more, in 1979, there was 3 Palestinian painters that opened the gallery in Ramallah. Israeli forces raided and confiscated all the paintings with Palestinian flag colors. So when the artist asked about painting flowers in those colors, the Israeli occupiers said, even if you paint a watermelon, we will confiscate it. So the watermelon became the symbol of resistance because it also shares the colors with the Palestinian flag, as you said. And to see that imagery woven into your logo, the new streaming service you're doing, everything that we're doing also as a community, the emoji of a watermelon is everywhere. And it's just such a testament to that, what happened in 1979. And those people that shows that energy and that life still continuing through us and what we're doing. So thank you so much for choosing that out of 200. And it's amazing how a crisis can make our purpose so clear. You had all the tools and knowledge, but it took this moment to realize that you needed to use them perhaps a little differently. And you've been getting involved in some pretty serious stuff with pretty serious risks. Let's watch this next trailer about the encampments before we dive into it.
We're here to discuss the little Gazas that have risen up on campuses across America.
There is a movement to radicalize young people.
Can you believe they are chanting about the intifada in New York City?
I really believe they are brainwashed. There was a very concerted effort by the media to portray things a certain way and refuse to discuss Gaza. Colombia is materially invested in the genocide in Gaza. We don't want our money to go towards Palestinian death.
I was born and raised in a Palestinian refugee camp. The university was cracking down on Palestinian activism on campus.
It's completely farcical to imply that in any way, like, Jewish people were being persecuted.
I have never felt more proud to be Jewish than when I was pushing our university to divest from genocide.
They would just criminalize anyone who would participate in a protest. That was the moment where students were like, we need to do something more.
Standing near the line! The people they won't leave is what is threatening about divesting and wanting peace.
The university would say like, oh, you're overestimating your power. I remember like telling them there are 60 universities setting up encampments across the United States.
We got Yale holding it down right now on live.
What you willing to risk? What you willing to give? What if you were in Gaza? What if those were your kids?
In '68, the students at Columbia took over the campus, mainly in protest of the war in Vietnam. Columbia talks about how it was okay then, but not okay now.
Bravery is very contagious. We kind of watched Columbia in awe, and we knew we were next.
The only weapon they have is fear, and we call their bluff. They have nothing!
This is probably one of the most important documentaries of our time, so let's talk about the encampments. The documentary was exclusively produced by Macklemore and is about the Columbia University protests, showing Mahmoud Khalil, a student activist who's been held by ICE for months without any charges and was finally just released. Thank goodness, hallelujah.
Yeah.
You moved the release date up from fall to March because you felt people needed to see it right away. And it opened at the Angelica Film Center in New York and broke the record for documentaries, $80,000 in one weekend, which is almost unheard of. But you also got threats of violence, vandalism. Your ads were censored on social media. Police raided UCLA and stopped the screening from happening on campus. You're really bringing to light things that activate folks who find Palestinian liberation to be a threat and find this storytelling even about how people are resisting to be threatening. Can you tell us both about the amazing success and the real danger that happened around the work of creating and releasing the encampments?
Yeah, the encampments specifically struck a chord, both, I think, with the industry side, and there was a lot of pushback, but also from the Zionist movement. And then I would say it definitely was one that was tricky for us as far as distribution because it was such a hot button that there was hesitation from journalists and exhibitors. But that also to us speaks to the importance of it. It countered a narrative that wasn't necessarily being countered, and the whole notion that the student encampments were anti-Semitic. And the film actually puts you inside the encampment. So it directly challenges it in such a strong way because, again, you're getting access to the inside. And as we often see, there were a lot of Jewish voices behind this. And one of our two directors, one is Michael Workman, the other one is Kay Pritzker, and he is Jewish. And also in the film is Grant Minor, who is Jewish. And he was actually expelled from Columbia for his involvement in the student encampments. Beyond that, inside the film, you'll see a lot of Jewish solidarity, Shabbat. There's so much of that. So it's like, as Kay says, I think in one of his interviews, he's reading news about the anti-Semitism, and then he looks up in the encampment and he's surrounded by, anti-Zionist Jews that are supporting. And it's all in the film, which is great. But yeah, it was definitely moving up the release. We wanted to be out in the fall, right when schools were coming back. And then Mahmoud was, as we all know, abducted by ICE. And we immediately felt obligated. Actually, the film wasn't finished. We were still in edit. It's not necessarily like the final version of the film, but we felt it was strong enough. And it is, and it resonated. But we ended up basically like on a Monday saying, okay, we're releasing on Friday. And so 5 days, whereas we generally schedule these 5 months in advance. We basically were 5 days out, and it was extremely stressful. And then we had another release on the tail end of that, which was The Teacher, another brilliant film. And then the platform launched. I've been pushing my team a lot harder than typical. And but that's also the beautiful thing is our team is like, they immediately understood. Actually, they were like, we have to go. And I was like, they get it. And so it's a beautiful thing having a team that's also very rooted in solidarity. But yeah, not an easy one. We just felt we needed to do it for Mahmoud. We needed to do it to counter another film that was out just like a week or two prior, which I'm not even going to say the name,
Right.
but we're very happy with the results.
I mean, you're doing this miraculous work of myth breaking and shifting social norms and speaking truth to power and speaking against propaganda. Like, you have all of this stunning corrective information in your work beyond being inspirational and beautiful. It's didactic, like it's teaching viewers a new way of seeing. And the fact that this film can simultaneously break box office records and face threats demonstrates how hungry audiences are for these stories, how important it is that they're seen, as you said, even when powerful forces are trying to silence them. And it makes me think about how you navigate the business side of this deeply activist work, including expanding to a new streaming service. And we will watch the trailer for that streaming service as well. But there tends to be this bisection across activism and more business oriented work. And your capacity to marry those two things, I think, is going to be profoundly effective for the movement and really ground us in a way to pull from so many different audiences of so many different communities who can be moved by this work. So here is the trailer.
They were never built for us. We feed this machine with our clicks, with our time, with our money. Their stories, their rules, their vision. They may give us a seat at the table, but never the pen, never the power, never the platform. But now we've built our own. Our stories.
And the students refuse to trade in the blood of Palestinians.
Our creators.
كل كاميرا مرحلة في الحياة.
Our culture. This isn't just another platform. This is ours. Watermelon Plus, now streaming.
Hamza, you're not just distributing films, you're building an entire world. There's Watermelon Plus, your streaming service that launched in May with over 70 films, including Oscar nominees Omar, Five Broken Cameras, and Thebe, and serves as cultural archive for 3 decades of Palestinian cinema, with plans to expand beyond Palestinian content to other marginalized voices. So important. There's also the Seeds podcast with Alana Hadid that just started in June. You've got partnerships with AMC Theaters, Apple TV, even Cannes Film Festival. It feels like you're creating what major studios do, but for voices they won't touch. Was this always the plan, or did you realize along the way that you needed to build everything from scratch?
No, honestly, I'll be honest, when we started, it was much more, let's support the filmmakers that are struggling. Let's support the films that don't have distribution. And it became very clear that there was much more that needed to be done there. When we launched in April of 2024, we ended up having like a weekend retreat where we laid out 1-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals. And we've already, I have to say, like, praise to God, we've already hit our 5-year goals. And now we're constantly we're moving the goalposts based on that. So definitely we see the goal is to build a mini studio and to do it for underrepresented voices, marginalized voices, or purposeful content in general. Like you said, we're just over a year old. Palestine will always be at the core and in our hearts, but we do see the need to branch out and also to bring all of these voices under one label. As you said, we have Sudan Remember Us, which is a beautiful documentary, which is very akin to the Encampments. It's about the youth movement in Sudan. And it's a beautiful film, winning awards left and right. We have an animated film from Pakistan, an anti-war film called The Glass Worker. And we have some Black Lives Matters films as well that haven't been announced. So There's a lot of great projects, but we do have our sights set a lot higher than when we initially had run down this road.
It's amazing. I think about streaming services like Gaia, for example, that has a focus on spirituality and the esoteric. And then you have all these different streaming services like Discovery Plus, that's science-based and stuff. But we don't really have a streaming service that's fully dedicated to social justice, especially this intersectional solidarity of social justice. And what you're creating is that. For the first time, if you want to go somewhere and nourish your soul and understand how your struggle for human rights, freedom, liberation is the same as the struggle for human rights and liberation of other people that may look completely different than you, this is the streaming service to go to, which is so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what we're hoping to achieve.
Thank you. So for our listeners, you can subscribe to Watermelon Plus today for just $7.99 a month, and it's available on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and Chromecast. What strikes me is how you're not waiting for permission from the industry. You're just building your own. And speaking of building, let's talk about some of the specific stories you're telling, starting with the Nakba. Let's see the trailer for Farha together.
خيلي أروح على المدينة، أروح على المدرسة، يصير عندي شنطة، كشاكيل.
البنت راسها بالتعليم، شو بده يصير يعني؟ شو هي طالبة رصد وحيدة؟
يابا برجع يابا خليكي جوا يابا لا تخافي
يا فريدة رحت الزينة
تحبسوا تبعي يا نادوني
So, Fatha, directed by Darren Salam, was Jordan's Oscar submission, but it faced enormous backlash. The film tells the story of a 14-year-old Palestinian girl during the 1948 Nakba, based on true events, showing this girl hidden in a storage room, witnessing horrific violence through a small hole. And many people have drawn parallels to Anne Frank, calling it basically a Palestinian Holocaust film. But the controversy was so intense. Israel campaigned to cancel it. Websites like Stand With Us, which many call an Israeli propaganda site, claimed it wasn't based on true events. There were even issues with original distributors holding it back, and Netflix faced pressure but did keep it on the platform. When you're dealing with stories this sensitive, stories that some people will truly do anything to silence, how do you honor your mission as a storyteller with the reality that powerful forces are going to try to stop you from being heard?
Yeah, I think ultimately cinema has to be a place of artistic freedom and expression. And we hope that the cinemas and the platforms and the industry in general, recognize that. And I think ultimately we're seeing that a lot of this attempt to silence us is falling on deaf ears. You mentioned Farha, and I think the situation there was that actually Netanyahu might have even tweeted about the film and ultimately brought it this massive attention. In some instances, it even worked to our favor. We had a lot of attempts to silence us with From Ground Zero. We heard from the cinemas and they had no intention of backing down. We really hope that they continue to make the right decisions. As we saw, No Other Land won an Oscar. I think in a lot of ways, people know the best way to deal with a bully is just to ignore them. And also, a lot of this pushback is coming from a few organizations. And I think a lot of it is coming from bots. There's mass spam email attempts and things of that nature. But ultimately, we're navigating in the end, what we say to like our partners is we just want to distribute films like we have been for the past 50 years. And I think the fact that we have these relationships and they know us, it's helpful because they know us on a personal level, and there is no reason to succumb to external pressures.
Absolutely. I think you're speaking about a sort of institutional cowardice that you all just don't have. You are turning your business into this grappling space where folks who might be reticent to approach anything of controversy are instead being invited to excavate the controversy of, is this really controversial? Do most people actually agree with us? When people hear these stories, is their empathy expanded? Like, you are doing the exact opposite of institutional reticence, which is such a stunning mission. And it's clear that you see art as a form of fighting back, which really connects to the watermelon symbol itself, how Palestinian artists used the fruit's colors when the flag was banned. That spirit of creative resistance runs through everything you do, everything your business does. And what's hopeful is this co-resistance that we're seeing in intersectional solidarity, particularly, as you said earlier, between Jews and Arabs. Just so stunning. So let's watch this next trailer together for Israelism.
I went to Palestine and I knowingly crossed the line for the first time. Something is deeply wrong here, and it's breaking my heart.
The Student Senate calling on campus officials to divest from companies that supply weapons that Israel uses.
It is anti-Semitism. It is.
You are trying to make me feel marginalized on my own campus. I beg you, please, to have compassion.
I was thrown into all these conversations where people were throwing around all these words that I'd never heard before. Occupation, apartheid, ethnic cleansing. We're always taught that the whole land was ours. I found myself wanting answers to the questions that Palestinian students were asking. What I would come to see on the ground would really shock me and horrify me.
Some American Jews who come here say, we came to Israel and we left from Palestine.
The new documentary,
Israelism.
The documentary is called Israelism, and it's very powerful.
What kind of title is Israelism?
Colleges around the country have tried to ban the film.
This is a film that's very important to us. The university has decided that if certain people don't like what we have to say, that gives them license to shut us down.
What is so dangerous about a film centering young American Jews and their relationship with Israel?
When we talk about we're losing the kids, we lost them.
They're really angry at the way they were indoctrinated, justifiably so.
We actually have had quite a few of our former students join the IDF. These are kids. These are 18, 19-year-olds. Amazing.
They will do anything to preserve unconditional support for Israel.
We don't want to be a part of that.
Well, there's been a striking change.
Anytime you cut against the grain, you're going to catch hell.
You are a self-loathing Jew. Go kill yourself. An anti-Semitic Jew.
The way that we talk about anti-Semitism isn't about protecting Jews, it's about protecting Israel. How dangerous is that?
What we've been told is that the only way that Jews can be safe is if Palestinians are not safe. The more I learned about that, the more I came to see that as a lie.
Okay, let's talk about Israelism for a moment, because it also is one of the most important films of our time. This documentary follows two young American Jews who went from being strong supporters of Israel to becoming pro-Palestinian activists, perhaps some of the most outspoken that we have right now. It's won 7 awards and has been screened at over 100 colleges, but it's also caused huge fights on campuses. What's interesting is that it was made by Jewish filmmakers, but now you, a Palestinian-owned company, are distributing it. The film's co-director said working with Watermelon models how Palestinians and Jews can work together for freedom and justice. How do films like this help bridge communities that are often seen as completely opposed to each other?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked this. It's extremely important to separate Judaism from Zionism, as we all know. And Israelism does this so well. And I truly believe that this film in particular is a perennial tool to deflating Zionism. And it was our second release. And the beauty of it is it demonstrates what can be. And we've worked so closely with Aaron, Sam, Daniel, and Simone on that film. And it also demonstrates that this isn't about religion. It's about justice. It's about humanity. It's about liberation. We also have Jewish members on our team. And actually, we've had them before and we've added new ones after. And it's not because they're Jewish, it's because they're good at their job and they happen to be Jewish. And there's no issue with that. As the film Israelism and the Encampments show, it's completely farcical to suggest that there's an issue between Islam and Judaism or Palestinians and Judaism. So yeah, Israelism is such an important film, and it's one that people keep coming back to. One of our employees that we hired more recently said that Israelism actually helped change her life and see that. So those are the stories that really keep us going, and we're honored to have distributed it.
When I saw Israelism for the first time, they were struggling with distributing it. And I remember they were in my inbox asking me to share it. And I was like, of course. But am I ever going to be that catalyst for it really going out there? And when I watched it, I was so touched to my core. And I shared it with all my Jewish friends. And there was a lot of backlash from some that just didn't want to watch it. And when I saw that Watermelon Pics picked it up and distributed it and made it the success that it is today, I was just so proud of that work. And I want to say we are also in a movement that has a lot of colors and a lot of ideas, and extremism, rigidity exists in all movements. And I love, Hamza, you are what I consider a more moderate activist in this space. And I've seen comments under some of the Israelism posts, under some of Watermelon Pictures posts that say things like, why are you highlighting Jews? Why are you making a film about Jews? Palestinians should always be in the forefront. And I thought you, as somebody that is a figure for us that we look up to, maybe you could say a few words about that in particular.
Yeah, as we know, there's a lot of anger and resentment out there, and it's not always easy, and we had conversations and had to deal very strategically with it being our second release. But ultimately, what we do at the end of the day is we discuss internally. We have a lot of these conversations. What is best for the movement? And it's not to say we don't care what the movement says, but ultimately, what is going to move the needle for Palestinian liberation? And that's what guides us. And we're going to have instances where people disagree, and sometimes it's like the loud minority, but there was also just so much optimism and positivity when we decided to do that. That's what guides us, is what is the best. And people have different opinions about what is the best for the movement, but we have a whole staff here of industry people, but also movement people. Alana Hadid is part of our team. We have 2 members from the Palestinian youth movement. So we have these discussions, and then we make a decision based on what we think is, again, best for the movement. So that's what guides us.
Well said. So the partnership really shows the power of storytelling to bring people together around shared values of justice, even when they come from different backgrounds. Israelism as a collaboration and form of solidarity also brings to mind, like you said, the recent Oscar winner No Other Land, co-directed by Palestinian filmmaker Bassel Adra and Israeli journalist Yuval Abraham, which chronicles the struggle of Palestinians in the West Bank's Masafer Yatta area against Israeli demolitions of their homes. The more we come together to dismantle oppressive systems and further common humanity, the stronger we are and more visible we become. And I would add, I love what you said about it's about furthering the mission, no matter what, and no matter what's good for the mission. So before we move on to our last segment, I was wondering if there are any other works you'd like to highlight, especially in light of the ongoing genocide in Gaza.
We have a lot of really amazing projects in the pipeline that I can't necessarily discuss yet, but as far as like more directly on the horizon, we have The Teacher, which is available. And I can't say enough how much I want everybody to see this film, because it educates, but it's also highly entertaining. It's such a treat. It makes you laugh, it makes you cry, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. Farah Nabulsi is such a talented director. So that one is already available. I would encourage you to see it right away. And then the other one that's coming just next month is To a Land Unknown. And that's from director Mahdi Fleifel. It's not necessarily a political film, but it's about 2 Palestinian refugees in Greece and what they have to go through. And that film in specific is really just cinema at its finest. It's like 100% positive reviews. It's just great cinema. And it also challenges the whole theory of the perfect immigrant, because these Palestinians were driven to be refugees and they're not perfect. And, we don't have to be perfect to be human. And I think this film really highlights that. So we're really excited by that when it's coming out in theaters. So just those are two that I would highlight most immediately.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing a little bit of what's coming up as well. And I will watch The Teacher right now as soon as we finish this interview.
Yeah, so excited.
It's a good one.
Thinking about all the ways the intersectional solidarity work we're doing is building for the future of peace, freedom, life, and dignity for all people, it's important that we get as creative as possible in delivering that message in many ways, including podcasts. Here are some clips from your newest venture, The Seeds.
Those are called the seeds. And so if you spin it, one of those things is going to pop out.
Should I open it?
Yeah. It's either an action, an affirmation.
What does my seed say? This is cool. It's like a fortune cookie.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's like a fortune cookie?
Yes, okay. It's like a fortune cookie.
I love it.
You want me to pop it open?
Yeah, pop it open and... Oh,
Wait,
really?
What?
I so agree. Because of Palestine, I also see this entire generation of like young people, which I kind of include myself into, having a rapid fire like political education, connecting all the dots everywhere. Wait a second. The IOF and our own militarized police and cop cities.
It's
APAC,
all interconnected.
And
That's kind of been the like pull your hair out scream moment for Palestinians for so long. Is like, how do you not see that this affects you? I always felt like I was a feminist, and to see like all these people who are fierce feminists who come out about all these issues to just like wither under the pressure of
literally
Palestine.
wither.
The Seeds podcast hosted by Alana Hadid. She's the sister of supermodels Gigi and Bella Hadid, and she interviews folks like Hassan Piker and Melissa Barrera. And the tagline for her pod is "Every story starts with a seed," which really recalls some of the imagery you talked about and the watermelon pictures icons. It feels like you're not just preserving Palestinian stories, but you're helping grow the next generation of storytellers and activists and people who are going to carry this work forward. You are sewing us all together regardless of our backgrounds, with activism being the focus of our line of work. So what role do you see podcasting playing in this bigger mission? And how does it feel to watch Alana, as your creative director, build her own platform within this platform and mission that you've crafted?
You both are doing it. Super humanizer, right? It's so important. And we have to click on all the different mediums, and podcasting is a crucial one. And watching Alana and her passion for the seeds has been really like such a joy. And so podcasting, absolutely. And beyond that, we don't want people to subscribe to our platform just out of solidarity. Our goal is for it to bring value and to be the community's plus one. You know, if you have your Netflix or your Hulu or your HBO or whatever it may be, we want to be your plus one because we're giving you that value. So eventually we foresee cooking shows, reality TV, stand-up comedy, genre films, all kinds of different things that are just humanizing and speaking to us, because we have a thirsty demographic that isn't being targeted, and we want to make sure that we change that.
Absolutely. And there's something so beautiful about how you're creating this space for specific voices to grow. And be able to use this platform is obviously going to make change and bring a lot of people in who might underestimate the quality of these conversations and think this is a moment in history. This is just people taking advantage of this one moment. It's so obviously not true. You all have such spectacular things to say about the depth of human connection and the way that our liberation is intertwined. And it reminds me of the seeds in your logo. Each person in the audience has the power to continue spreading these stories. I mean, the two of us created Super Humanizer as a way to seed ourselves in this larger movement and to support its growth, with a similar mission to MPI, Watermelon Pictures, and the Seeds podcast, which just gives us so much hope for the future and how this is socially contagious. So we really loved this reel on Watermelon Pictures Instagram about cinema as liberation. So here's one last packed visual delight for our Super Humanizers.
What if I told you cinema is part of liberation and a film holds more power than we imagine?
I have to stand here today as what I was when I was born, a black man.
We all remember that moment when we completely lost ourselves in a story we saw on screen. A scene that brought us to tears, dialogue that made us laugh, or being transported to a whole different world beyond our imagination. In our most vulnerable moments, they tell us who to value, what is normal, and define the limitations of what is possible. That's why films matter. So think about how we are seen on screen.
For you or one of your sand monkey cousins.
I want to talk!
And then how it becomes our reality.
Have you ever seen destruction like this, even in the end of the world movies?
But we have a way to fight back, to radically imagine a world where liberation is possible and inspire people to believe in it. This is the power of cinema and its ability to shape our new collective reality. With Watermelon Pictures, we are going to bring you these stories, to dare to picture hope, picture resistance, picture revolution,
And if we burn, you burn with us.
picture liberation, picture a watermelon. We are the seeds.
It's time for us to reclaim the narrative. Such a powerful message. What message do you have for those in the film industry or other film distributors, creatives, and those with influence in Hollywood and internationally and streaming? What would you say to them?
I would say to the film industry, help us to combat this dehumanization. Help us with representation. Honestly, we don't want to combat it alone. The time for courage is now. We hope that across the board, nobody succumbs to the pressure of a loud minority pushing back against our films and wanting to keep us silenced, wanting to keep us as a statistic as opposed to a story. So yeah, I would say in general, we really want to see support within the industry, and we are, and we hope that continues and grows.
Beautiful. Moving us from being a statistic to a story. I love that sentence. Thank you for sharing that. So we are here at the end of our interview with one last question. That passed really quickly. Such a joy being here with you. But Hamza, would you share with us as we close something that we call a heart share? This is where we invite our guests to share something that keeps them grounded, maybe a quote, a poem, a practice, or just a simple truth that helps you stay connected to your purpose when the work gets hard, especially your work. What would you like to share with us?
There's a saying from the prophet that if the day of judgment arrives and you have a seed in your hand, we've been talking a lot about seeds. If you have a seed in your hand and the day of judgment arrives, you should still plant it. Again, this for me is like the one that I always go back to because it's what we're trying to do. We're trying to plant seeds, and we don't necessarily see the harvest. And we hope that there is a harvest soon, and at least our children get to see that harvest. But we're going to plant the seed anyway, even if the world is crumbling, even if the world is ending, which sometimes it feels like it is, like now.
Yeah.
We're still going to continue to plant these seeds, and these films are hopefully those seeds. So that's a quote that I continually come back to.
Beautiful, inshallah ya Rab. My share, I spoke yesterday with a volunteer at the organization Children Not Numbers, which I'm also a volunteer at, which is helping rescue children from Gaza who need life-saving care. One of the conversations centered around appreciation as a tool that we can anchor to while we navigate everything that we're going through. Katie and I talk about this often in some of our discussions about mental health, is like, how do we hold two things at the same time that could be helpful to each other? And so I had a heart conversation yesterday with one of these volunteers who was really struggling with the nature of the work she was doing, caseworking and being connected to parents on the ground. And as we were talking, we started thinking about the small things that we can appreciate about ourselves as we're in this volunteer work. And something as simple as when we're pouring a cup of water, to just appreciate that we have this clean water that we can drink right now. And this clean water is nourishing me so that I can keep pouring into the movement, so that one day the people in Gaza will also have clean water. And something about appreciation is what cushions our suffering as we go through everything that we're going through. And I will also expand that a little bit and say that connecting with you, Hamza, and doing work with you guys in Watermelon Pics and this interview and all these things that we do together is something I really appreciate that cushions my suffering. As I go back into social media after our interview and see is World War III happening right now, I also am going to hold this time together that we've had and very dearly and appreciate that so that I can navigate what we're about to see unfold together.
I have a heart share as well. Hani, I've actually prepared today.
Yay!
I always forget this. So I've been reading the English translations of the work of Maram al-Masri, who is a Syrian poet who publishes mostly in Arabic and French. And I found a series of English translations, including one beautiful poem called Look at Me, which I think speaks to some of the themes we've been discussing today. So I'm just going to read it. It's short. Look at me. Do you remember me? I'm the one who brought you into the world, who gave you milk. Look at your brothers. I've told you so much about them. Say hello to them in French. It's enough to kiss them or exchange a smile. They don't resemble you. You are more brown, but if we look closely, we see you share the same traits. Let's go. Repeat their names after me. Matthew. Yes, Matthew. Guillaume. You see, it's not so difficult to speak the language of love. Just love her work. It's not so difficult to speak the language of love. Hamza, thank you so much for your courage, your vision, your stories, and for showing us really what it looks like to turn family legacy into a force for justice and really collective activation. I mean, beyond working toward a mission, you are motivating so many other people to join this mission. Thank you for the gift of being with us in our community on Superhumanizer today.
Thank you so much, Annie and Katie. Really appreciate the time, and I'm honored that you would even consider me. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're such a darling. We've been rabidly looking forward to this. Like, very excited. We'll end with our closing prayer. May all beings everywhere thrive in peace, dignity, and share in all our joys.
And may we see true peace in the Middle East for all in our lifetime. Amen.
Hey, Superhumanizer, it's Katie Bogan here. Before you go, I have a quick ask. If today's conversation moved you, would you please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser? Both links are in the show notes, and your reviews really help us to reach more people who need to hear these stories. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with a friend, a loved one, or anyone who you think would benefit from it. Your reviews and sharing help us inspire more humanity in our world. Thank you for being a friend of Superhumanizer. See you next episode.